promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. First, our top stories. Liberia poised to chair UN sanctions committees awaits Security Council approval.
These P5 countries will be the ones taking decisions. So Liberia is now at the table for these global conversations and now being asked to shape some of the responses to some of the conflicts in the world.
Italy urges its citizens to leave Mali immediately as insecurity escalates. Ivorian opposition announces major protest demands release of political prisoners.
The results of the presidential election show enough that despite the manipulation of the figures, the RHDP regime does not have the majority of the daily population.
And Ghana's special prosecutor probes $94 million gold trade loss rate target gold breach offices. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
My name is Sankule Janko and we would like to welcome you to this broadcast this afternoon. We begin with some security matters as Liberia has been nominated for leadership positions within key UN United Nations sanctions committees. These nominations are subject to final approval by the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. If approved, Liberia will assume the chairmanship of the UN Sanctions Committee on Sudan, as well as co-chairmanships of sanctions committees for both the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, and Yemen. As a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, this development may indicate a potential shift in Liberia's international standing and its role in global security governance. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
If confirmed as chair of the Sudan Sanctions Committee, Liberia would be responsible for directing the committee's agenda, mediating negotiations, and defining the scope of implementation of sanctions aimed at restoring stability and protecting civilian populations in Sudan. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, as co-chair of the committee, Liberia would play a crucial role in addressing the country's ongoing instability. Foreign Affairs Minister Sarah Beslo-Yanti attributes the country's successful nominations to strategic diplomatic engagements aimed at restoring its integrity and enhancing its global standing.
Recently, I was in the U.S. meeting Secretary of State Marco Rubio. These P5 countries will be the ones taking decisions. So Liberia is now at the table for these global conversations and now being asked to shape some of the responses to some of the conflicts in the world.
The Liberian Foreign Affairs Minister added that the country remains engaged with various nations, noting that President Joseph Boaká's ongoing state visit with French President Emmanuel Macron aims to address strengthening bilateral ties and the support for Liberia's proposed roles.
The tete-a-tete between the two leaders and so forth would then lead to whatever the joint statement will be following the tete-a-tete.
At the same time, the confirmation of these nominations has been met with optimism by some Liberian citizens who view it as a significant boost, especially given past instances where Liberian officials faced international sanctions due to allegations of corruption and actions undermining regional stability. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
In neighboring Sierra Leone, security agencies in the Port Local district within the northwestern region of the country are investigating the mysterious death of a military officer. Sergeant Elhaji Bayo of the Lungi 3 Infantry Battalion had been deployed at the Commodity Training Company CTC mining site in Berry Junction. According to police sources, the incident was first reported on October 27, 2025 by Umaru Bilkis Kamara, the commodity liaison officer for CTC Mining Company, and Corporal Conte, who also serves at the site. The two men reportedly discovered Sergeant Bayo's lifeless body in a pit within the mining area. Augustine Coley tells us more in this report.
Preliminary findings suggest that the officer may have been attacked by unknown individuals before his body was dumped into the pit. This shocking discovery has left residents of Bire Junction and nearby communities gripped with fear and uncertainty. A joint security task force comprising officers from the Sierra Leonean Armed Forces and the National Police has been deployed to the area to investigate the circumstances surrounding the killing. Police officials confirmed that several suspects have already been arrested as part of the ongoing probe. Reacting to the incident, the resident minister for the Northwest region, Ambassador Bon Wuri, condemned the killing and called for tighter security measures. He also urged local authorities and residents to cooperate fully with investigators to ensure justice is served. Meanwhile, Guira Junction and surrounding communities in the region remain under heightened security surveillance as joint patrols and intelligence operations continue.
Augustine Coley filed that report. Elsewhere in the Central Sahel region, precisely Mali, Western governments are urging their citizens to leave the country immediately as a result of worsening fuel shortage and rising insecurity. This week, both the United States and Italy issued emergency notices warning of the rapidly deteriorating situation. On Tuesday, October 28, 2025, the U.S. Embassy in Bamako called on American citizens to depart by air or to establish personal security measures if evacuation was not possible. The following day, Wednesday, October 29, the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs released a similar advisory urging Italian nationals to leave Mali as soon as possible. Imo Edit completes the story.
This latest emergency notice is affecting about 70 Italians, most of them residing in the capital Bamako. Rome has expressed particular concern over the impact of the ongoing energy crisis on security and mobility in Mali. The warnings come amid a sharp deterioration in the country's logistical and security situation since early September 2025. In recent weeks, the armed group JNIM has imposed a blockade on fuel imports and stepped up attacks on tanker truck convoys. As fuel shortages worsen, Malian authorities have suspended all classes in schools and universities for 2 weeks, citing major travel difficulties and irregular fuel deliveries. The United States has also maintained its highest alert level, advising its citizens against all land travel to neighboring countries due to the heightened risk of attacks along major routes. Diplomatically, the warnings from Washington and Rome reflect a rare alignment between the two capitals, underscoring a shared assessment of the deepening crisis in Mali.
Imo Edit with that report. Meanwhile, a major fuel convoy has arrived in the Malian capital, Bamako, bringing some relief to a country grappling with several fuel and shortages for weeks. The convoy, made up of several dozen tanker trucks from Ivory Coast, entered the city last night under heavy military escort. The tankers were received at the Customs Patrol Office, where authorities say around-the-clock operations are underway to speed up distributions. Priority fuel supplies are being directed to public transport and emergency vehicles, while reasonably efforts are planned for other affected regions, including Segu, Mopti, and Kuchala. The crisis has led to soaring fuel prices and long queues at service stations across the country. Officials link the shortage to supply chain difficulties and ongoing insecurity, with armed groups including JNIM targeting convoys on major routes. The most recent attack took place yesterday near Kati, southwest of Bamako, though the number of casualties remains unclear.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Still in the Sahel, South Africa's former president, Jacob Zuma, is currently in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. His visit is part of a larger trip involving 700 people of African descent from the United States who have come to experience Africa through Burkina Faso. While in Ouagadougou, the former South African president is expected to deliver a public lecture. Christopher Atichi reports.
South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma arrived in Burkina Faso earlier on Wednesday. Upon disembarking from his plane, he was greeted by the Burkinabe Minister of Foreign Affairs and members of the group of people of African descent who have been in Burkina Faso for the past few days. In response, Jacob Zuma says,
and I'm sure we'll have more time to talk about many things.
What we see here makes us happy, and we hope to have more time to talk about it. We are very happy to be in a country that makes very correct decisions, and we will talk about many things that interest Africans, including those who do not understand the true meaning of our freedom.
Some of our Africans here who could not understand the real freedom.
Jacob Zuma's visit is part of a trip by 700 people of African descent to Burkina Faso. These African Americans have come to experience Africa through the country of Thomas Sankara. Herman Toure, Secretary General of the Burkina Faso's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, praised the ideas of the African Americans.
It is a process of symbolic return and memorial reconciliation that places Burkina Faso as a welcoming country, but also a country of hope and a country of hospitality for many Africans of the diaspora around the world.
While in Burkina Faso, the former South African President Jacob Zuma will meet with Burkinabe authorities before giving a lecture on Saturday in Ouagadougou. The lecture will focus on the history of the liberation movement in Africa.
A report from Martin Kaba in Ouagadougou, voiced by Christopher Aticho. Let's focus on political development now. In Côte d'Ivoire, the opposition Common Front, an alliance of the PPA, CI and PDCI RDA parties, denounces what it describes as authoritarian practices by the Ivorian government. At a press conference on Wednesday, the parties announced plans for a major protest to take place on Saturday, November 8, 2025. The PPA, CI, and PDCI-RDA are also demanding the release of all political prisoners. This latest response occurs amid reports that several opposition members have been summoned by the Abidjan Police Prefectorial. Well, Abdullah Hassan has the details in this report.
13 officials from the PPACI and the PDCI-RDA parties are reportedly under police scrutiny. This announcement was made by the Common Front, which described the move as a political maneuver aimed at eliminating influential opposition figures ahead of the upcoming legislative elections. The Common Front condemns the use of state institutions for partisan purposes. Jean-Gavé Chede, Secretary General and Deputy Spokesperson of the PPACI, voices these concerns.
The results of the presidential election show enough that despite the manipulation of the figures, the RHDP regime does not have the majority of the daily population. It therefore fears a large defeat in the next legislative session, a defeat that would weaken its fourth mandate, which the people do not want. The strategy therefore consists to prevent deputies from leaving or any other personality from this Common Front influential in their region from becoming candidates for the next legislative election by a judicial subcontract.
According to Chede, these summons are part of a broader strategy intended to silence the opposition parties.
To protect the unique party in our country, which seems to be more comfortable, the next step is to take it from President Laurent Gbagbo and President Cheikh Tidiane Cham of the PDCR.
After a period of calm over the past 48 hours, the African People's Party of Côte d'Ivoire has announced plans for a large peaceful march scheduled for Saturday, November 8, 2025. The march aims to protest the violence suffered by civilians and to demand the release of all political prisoners. Observers suggest that this initiative could reignite tensions in an already fragile socio-political climate.
Abdullah Hassan voiced that report filed by Marcel Ariston Blay in Abidjan. In the Gambia, the Special Select Committee established to investigate the sale and disposal of former President Yahya Jammeh's assets has charged Sergeant Adama Jan with contempt of the National Assembly. Jan, who has appeared before the committee on 4 separate occasions, allegedly contacted or attempted to influence potential witnesses related to the ongoing investigations. His arrest was carried out by the Sergeant-at-Arms, who then transferred him to the military police of the Gambia Armed Forces. This action is in accordance with the sections 109 and 110 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, as well as orders 102 and 140 of the standing orders of the National Assembly and the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act. Well, Abdullah Sise is the chairman of the National Assembly Select Committee on the sale and disposal of former President Yahya Jammeh's assets.
Cancel application granted and pursuant to section 109 and 110 of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, the 1997 Constitution, and National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act, 102 and 140 of the standing orders of the National Assembly. I hereby order as still that the Sergeant at Arms of the National Assembly shall formally arrest Sergeant Ahmed Jan and deliver him to the custody of the Gambia Armed Forces, the military police, for the investigation and detention pending his appearance before this committee. Pursuant to section 12 of the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act, the Honorable Minister, Attorney General, and Minister for Justice is hereby notified of this order.
That was the chairperson of the Select Committee of Gambia's National Assembly Select Committee on the sale of Jammeh's asset. We apologize for the poor quality of that audio. We'll bring you a better one in our subsequent bulletin. Now, crossing over to Nigeria, where the European Union has reaffirmed its commitment to strengthen its relations in political, economic, and humanitarian areas. EU Ambassador to Nigerian ECOWAS, Gita Amino, shared this message during his visit to Nigerian Senate on Wednesday. He discussed the EU's current and future collaboration efforts with Nigeria. Well, WDR's Usman Omar reports from Abuja.
In his remarks to the members of the Nigerian Senate, Ambassador Gautier Mignot emphasized the long-standing partnership between Nigeria and the European Union, describing it as one based on shared values and mutual trust. He noted the EU is Nigeria's largest trading partner and the biggest market for non-oil exports, with nearly one-third of the country's foreign direct investment originating from Europe. Mignot added that the EU's Global Gateway Investment Strategy is opening up new areas of cooperation, particularly in renewable energy, digital transformation, climate resilience, smart agriculture, health, and transport. He revealed that the European Union Investment Bank and other EU financial institutions are investing billions of euros into joint investments across these sectors aimed at supporting sustainable development in Nigeria. Regarding security, the EU envoy acknowledged the challenges Nigeria faces, especially in the north, and pledged ongoing EU support to help the country address insecurity and assist internally displaced persons.
The European Union is also actively supporting Nigeria to face insecurity, which is a huge challenge in some parts of the country, and to build peace, protecting all populations, minorities and internally displaced people. We have discussed this with the authorities and inside the Team Europe.
Ambassador Mignot further outlined 4 dimensions of EU-Nigeria engagement, namely political dialogue, trade and economic partnership, development cooperation, and institutional coordination with EU member states. He concluded by stating that Nigeria is not just another African country, but an emerging continental and global giant with which the EU seeks a future-oriented, mutually beneficial partnership. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Liberia poised to chair UN Sanctions Committee awaits Security Council approval. Italy urges its citizens to leave Mali immediately as insecurity escalates. Ivorian opposition announces major protest, demands release of political prisoners. And Ghana's special prosecutor probes $94 million gold trade loss, raids target and gold-rich offices. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
The Office of Ghana's Special Prosecutor, OSP, has conducted high-profile searches in its ongoing investigation into the Minerals Income Investment Fund MIIF Gold Trade Program, which is alleged to have caused a loss of $94 million to the state. The raids took place at the Trasco residence of Nanaya Dodo, also known as Dr. Sledge, and at the East Legon offices of Gold Ridge Company Limited under warrants issued by the High Court in Accra. Nanaya Dodo, Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Gold Ridge Refinery Limited, is facing scrutiny for suspected corruption and corruption-related offences linked to the MIIF Gold Trade Program, the OSP confirmed. In a post shared via X on October 29, 2025, the OSP said its asset recovery and management team seized luxury vehicles, jewelry, weapons and documents relating to landed properties during the operations. Nanaya Dodo was arrested on September 30, 2025 due to Gold Ridge's alleged failure to fulfill its obligations in trade transactions under the Gold for Forex and Gold for Oil initiatives.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
In our guest interview segment, we head back to Liberia as the country has been nominated for leadership positions within key United Nations sanctions committees. These nominations are subject to final approval by the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. If approved, Liberia will assume the chairmanship of the UN Sanctions Committee on Sudan, as well as co-chairmanships of sanctions committees for both the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and Yemen. As a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, this development may indicate a potential shift in Liberia's international standing and its role in global security governance. Well, to analyze what this really means for Liberia's foreign policy and more, we are joined by our guest, Alhaji Sam Serion, a security expert.
Well, I think from what we see, Liberia is historically a member of all the international organizations. Liberia is a founding member of the Organization of African Unity today, the AU. Liberia is also a founding member. In fact, Liberia initiated the Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS. We basically, from economic state, now transforming to ECOMO and all of the security protocols and all of that. So Liberia nomination cannot be strained. Liberia is strategically right now placed at the UN Security Council position. This position provides an opportunity for Liberia to strike diplomatically and for Liberia to be able to negotiate and renegotiate its positions. So that would come basically with the level of security precaution, the procedure that have taken place in Liberia. Liberia has upgraded the security status in West Africa. Liberia is one of the most stable countries in West Africa right now for the last 8 years running right now. The country is stable, it's safe, it's kind, democracy is here, freedom of speech is here. So Liberia stands to benefit because of the stability of our country and our region.
Sir, how significant is it for a non-permanent member like Liberia to co-chair such sensitive committees?
Well, it is sensitive indeed, yes, because Liberia rose in the past with the international community have always indicated and signaled that Liberia is a country. Liberia is playing, like I said clearly, Liberia have the ability to negotiate peace across the world. Liberia is a country that normally hosts peace for other people. Liberia welcomes people from every part of the world. Liberia has a power. The way security is being coordinated in Liberia, starting with security. You know, when there's no security anywhere, there's no stability, nobody will nominate you to any position or any elevation level. Liberia is being elevated today because Liberia have paid her price. Liberia has security for our country, our region. For the past 7 years, Liberia is just heading high and high. You know, when the war ended in Liberia, civil war devastated Liberia for 14 years. When the war ended in Liberia became a wave of path. Liberia has been on the path of peace and security, working with the regional allies, ensuring that there's peace and security in Liberia, that there's no trouble, there's no extension, there's no rebellion coming from Liberia. Nobody leaves from Liberia to go to Cote d'Ivoire and cause trouble. Nobody leaves from Liberia and go to Guinea to cause trouble, or nobody leave from Sierra Leone and go to Liberia to cause trouble. So this thing has helped a lot. Liberia continue to play her role in the international communities of nations. And I think this is not a surprise because Liberia has earned her place as a country with integrity and stability.
What impact, sir, could Liberia's leadership roles have on its foreign policy and regional security engagement, particularly after this nomination?
Well, Liberia, the impact will be very significant for Liberia because Liberia stands at the crossroad. Liberia historically have played the multilateral role in showing that there is peace, security, and stability in the region. The impact of Liberia will bring in investors in Liberia, will bring in businesses in Liberia, will bring tourists in Liberia. Just how tourists go to the Gambia. Liberia will start to benefit immensely from the international partner because of that role. So this is great. It's a great improvement. It's significant development for our country, Liberia, and I think we are getting there. We're not there yet, but very soon, Liberia will find herself at the top of the map in Africa. And this is where we were before. It's just a civil war that devastated our country and took us way back to the bottom of the line. Liberia has always been on top of the line. Liberia has always been in the first place. And unfortunately, the war brought us back, and we see ourselves rolling back. And I say the impact will positively impact. So not only Liberia, it will impact the entire ECOWAS region. And I think I want to say kudos to the ECOWAS Economic Community of West Africa. Say kudos to all of our African partners that have supported Liberia and continue to support our country for the peace, security, and stability that we enjoy today.
Alhaji Sam Sird is a security expert. Well, in sport, Total Energies Marketing Nigeria PLC officially unveiled the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2025 trophy in Lagos on Wednesday, igniting excitement among football fans as Nigeria hosted the first leg of the prestigious CAF Trophy Tour. The grand ceremony held at Eko 2 Victoria Island brought together dignitaries, sport administrators, media representatives, and football enthusiasts to witness the symbolic start of Nigeria's participation in the continental celebration of African football excellence. The AFCON 2025 Trophy Tour will continue its journey across the continent. It stops in Angola, South Africa, Ivory Coast, and Morocco as anticipation builds towards the continent's biggest football festival. And the president of Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, Ibrahim Gusso, has expressed strong confidence that the Super Eagles will rise to the occasion and deliver an outstanding performance in the 2026 FIFA World Cup playoffs. Speaking to then.com, Gusso assured fans that the NFF and the National Sports Commission are leaving nothing to chances as the three-time African champions aim to book their spot at the global showpiece. The NFF boss revealed that the Super Eagles training camp will officially open in Rabat, Morocco on Sunday, November 9, and ahead of their crucial semi-final clashes. Nigeria will face the Panthers of Gabon in the semi-final of the African playoffs, which will take place at either the 18,000 capacity at Al Bashir Stadium or 22 capacity Prince Mullah El Hassan Sport Complex in Rabat. We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Ismaila Kamara for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via social media platforms X and Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English service, on stream live at WADR.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is WADR's Environment Program, Enviroscope with Abdullahi Hassan. I am Sankule Janko. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kaigama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.